so great to have those repeat students that come back and learn from you year after year. So what are things that you can do as a yoga teacher to help your students want to come back to your class? Hi, I'm Sarah Fisher. I'm a yoga teacher and yoga teacher mentor based in Richmond, Virginia. Here are 3 things that you can include in your yoga class that help keep the students wanting to come back. The first one is take your class on a journey. That means create a sequence that moves them from one pose to the next in a way that makes sense and builds over the course of the class to a pose that may be a little bit challenging for people based on the level of the class. One of the things you can do in the midst of that is build in variations along the way so that they learn the different ways that they could execute that particular pose. And when you get up to that final pose towards the end of the class, everyone has something to do. So we're not making it like this pose is the most amazing pose and the rest of that doesn't matter. It's not about a hierarchy of the pose, but it's about having the experience of working towards something over and over in a progressive way. And then honoring where your body is in that particular day. What this does for your students is empower them, enable them. It gives them the sense of accomplishment when they move closer towards the pose, and accomplishment and self-honoring when they choose one of the other variations, especially if you don't make it sound like that variation is only for folks who aren't great at yoga or something like that. If you make that variation sound like a problem, it's going to have something very different happen. But if you can make it sound like this is the journey we're all on, we're all in different places in our journey, but here's the way that we all can participate, then it's very exciting for your students. And they want to see how things will unfold. So that will keep them coming back the next week. It also keeps things interesting for them. Now, I realize in some traditions, you might teach the same sequence all the time. Great. Or some teachers don't do a lot of planning out of your sequence. That's fine, you do you. But if you are one that plans your sequence, if your sequence changes week to week or month to month, this is one of the ways you can draw people back to you by taking them on a journey. Number 2 is have a physical focus in mind for your class today. That physical focus could be one very simple thing, up to maybe 2 somewhat simple things, or at least 2 things that are not too complex for your class, right? So depending on the students you tend to work with, you'll choose what they can do. One of the things that's really great about this is you can line up your physical focus with the journey you're going on, the pose that you're hopefully going to head towards, and consider, well, what physically do they really need? What would really support them to help this pose happen? So if we're talking about downward facing dog as the pose you're journeying to, one of the things that really helps in down dog is if you can get your arms straight when it's overhead. If you can't, downward facing dog can be much more of a challenge. So your physical focus, if that was the journey you're going on that day, might be always cueing them to straighten their arms and helping them remember to straighten their arms. When you put the physical focus and the journey together, it's like giving your student a little key that unlocks part of the posture and part of the journey for them, and it starts to make sense. It also gives them anatomical knowledge, could give them anatomical knowledge, and more knowledge about how to work within their bodies. This could work for any posture, any practice where you're working pretty physically. Certainly this isn't going to be for like a meditation practice. That might be more of a mantra focus or an anchor kind of focus. So certainly this is a more active or physical practice that I'm talking about where you want a physical focus. Number 3, please include a yogic teaching. The yogic teaching is what makes this yoga instead of just exercise, right? Anyone can go into any gym and stretch. What makes it yoga is that we include some teaching. It's very useful if you have your text, your Yoga Sutras. You can offer something from your Yoga Sutra. If you have another text, Yoga Sutras is one text. There are so many, Bhagavad Gita, all of the canon of literature. So you can certainly find something. And this is what sets things apart from exercise, that sets your class apart from just a regular exercise. And what I love about the yogic teaching is that this is what they can take with them off the mat. It might apply to their lives in this moment. It might apply to a relationship they're having. I don't know how many students come back to me and say, "You said exactly what I needed to hear today. How did you know I needed to hear that?" Well, I don't know, but yoga knows, right? Yoga has so much guidance for us. I mean, that's why you're doing it. That's why you're teaching it, because it has so much to offer to each of our lives, and it transforms you. So we want to be able to share that with the students. So when you have those three things, your journey, your physical focus, and your yogic teaching, it keeps your students really engaged. They feel like they're in a process, not just going to a movie, watching a show, watching a performance that you might be doing. They are in a process and they are engaged in their yoga. So one of the things I love about this is as you start to bring it into your life as a yoga teacher, it transforms you. I think teaching yoga is a transformative experience for the teacher. It transforms you into a stronger guide for your students. It gets you very centered and focused before you begin, makes you very clear. It helps you drop out the extra, so you only offer what's very essential for that day. And over time, you build this kind of body of information that the students need and your own particular body of guidance and a strong container that you can rely on. Your students can rely on you as a strong container to hold their transformation, and your loved ones too, they feel it. So, it's like letting the yoga do its work inside of you, even as you are in the seat of the teacher and continuously offering these teachings. I think it's so beautiful. So those are the three. Take a journey, have a physical focus, and offer a yogic teaching. So here's my question. Are you doing one or two or three of these already? Are you taking your students on a journey? Are you offering a physical focus? Are you offering the yogic teachings? And how's that going for you? If you're not doing it, what would it take for you to try it? I recommend try one at a time and slowly layer them in over time. And if you are already doing it, how could you dial that up? How could you support yourself to do it with more clarity and more focus? And where do you need help? Which one's the hardest? Is it harder to build your sequence? Is it harder to figure out where to put your physical focus? Is it harder to figure out how to put the yogic teaching into your class? I'm happy to help with any of those things. Just really interested in where you are in this journey. Is this video helpful to you? That's awesome. Leave a comment below. I love reading comments. I love responding to comments. And certainly email me or be in touch anytime if you have questions or anything else you'd like to hear about. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that your teaching's going well. Take care.